How America Will Conquer Its Fear and Hatred of Gays in the 90s. Book was written in 1989. They listed and they stipulated six-point plan that we will put into place. Jayed, we'll go through some of them inshallah. In the 1960s and 70s, in most countries, you had laws against homosexuals, Jayed? And all of that has changed in many places. It's changed. Why do we say that they are the most successful social movement in the history of man? Because they were able to change the clock completely. From completely impermissible and laws against it, forget it being legalized, it's now up to a point that if you don't accept and you are not accommodating and you are not on board with it, then you are the one who's incorrect. You are the one who is discriminating. You are the one who has a problem. I mean, in many places around the world, we can't talk like this, how we're talking right now. How many du'at, etc., this mufti, that person, this person, etc. Certain countries, they cannot travel to those countries because they are banned from coming there. Why? Because he said something on a lecture and then they said, okay, what's the ruling with regards to this matter? Impermissible in Islam. Is there a penalty with regards to this? Yes, there's a penalty if the person is found guilty, etc., etc., with all of the long list of conditions, right? Okay, then what's that penalty, etc.? Well, some of the ulama said that this equals zina. Some of the ulama said, no, it's worse than zina. It's worse than zina. So the rules of zina don't even apply to it. So what is the penalty? So, well, there's difference of opinion with regards to it, and some said this and that, etc., etc. Halas, the guy is banned. His videos are removed. He's cancelled, removed from social media and stuff like that. Jade, to that level, from it being totally impermissible and legislated in the country that it's illegal, completely has changed where we frighten now. You know, you don't want to upset the alphabet people, Jade. You don't want to upset the alphabet people. Allah musta'an. In the time of our parents and grandparents, etc., etc., the world was a very different place. And so in, I think, 1969, there was a pub in the UK. There was a riot there. This was a pub that the homosexuals used to frequent, and there was some issue. And so after that, many movements, or rather many groupings, came together and they said, we want to put an end to any discrimination against the homosexuals. And would we support something like that? Let's say, for example, you know, people are going around and they are catching homosexuals and lesbians and beating them up and burning them alive or something like this. We would also support legislation against people doing that. We don't have vigilante type of justice. You don't go around. We just said that the Sharia, if you go and accuse somebody of zina, guy and girl, you don't have 4 witnesses, you will be lashed 80 times. Right? And now you just go around in your own vigilante type of justice. Totally impermissible to do anything like that, right? Nonetheless, so these groupings came together and said, we'll put an end to this discrimination and they should be allowed to frequent wherever they want to go, and these laws against them need to come to an end. And so that's how the ball started rolling. And then we mentioned the book in 1989, How America Will Conquer Its Fear and the Hatred of Gays in the 90s, right? And so they continued. These are some of those, this is the 6-point plan. That number 1, what we need to do is, we need to talk about homosexuality as much as possible. Bombard, we need to have we need to own the conversation. It must be spoken about everywhere. So people are, they say that sometimes the fitna was sleeping. The fitna was asleep. Now you started to warn against it. By doing that, you made the fitna to wake up. You cause the fitna to wake up. Sometimes you want to kill the fitna, be quiet, and it will die a slow death, right? Obviously, in our situation now today, it's a complete opposite, right? Allah musta'an. But as they say in marketing, that any type of advertising, whether it's bad advertising, bad marketing, etc., it's still marketing at the end of the day. So talk about homosexuality as much as possible, give da'wah, etc., with regards to it. Portray those who are homosexuals and LGBT, and it's only increasing, I and Q and X and this and that, etc. Every few months another letter is added on. Talk about them as though they are victims. And that's why, I don't know about here, but like South Africa, whenever it's talked about like the Africans and the struggle of the Africans and the blacks and stuff like this here, then the LGBT community, they are on board with regards to that, because it's social justice. Yeah, we stand for the blacks and their rights, etc., just like how they must stand for us. And you find even with many of the pro-Palestinian groups fighting and talking and activists with regards to the Palestinian and their rights, And you do find that the LGBT guys and girls and all of this here, they are for, pro-Palestinian rights and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, you support the haqq, we welcome that. But don't think that we are necessarily going to support your right and whatever you are calling to, Jayid. So portray them as victims, align with those who fight for the LGBTQI rights, as this is a social justice matter. It's not like, your own sexual story behind. No, it's a social justice matter. Bring it into the mainstream. I remember this series here, Jayid, this sitcom, Will and Grace, 1998. So I was 18 years of age at that time, Jayid. And it was the first thing, first time you're seeing like this homosexual on TV, Jayid. Allahumma musta'an, Will and Grace. That was the first time now openly you had it on television, Jayid. And then also then the opposite, meaning that all these matters all put together, tax exemption, that if you donate towards the LGBT movement, then corporate America must also come on board. It must be a tax deductible matter. How you help the orphan and the widow, you are also helping the homosexual. And this was their plan, and they obviously have been very successful at this matter, unfortunately. This is basically, in the Noble Quran, we'll come to those verses. Lut alayhi salam. How do there's a book, Homosexuality in Islam, 400 pages, Scott Kugel, 400 pages in English, justifying its permissibility. So it's not only like, hey, no, we got ulama, we got this, we got that. There's no ulama, right? But we got evidence, we got this, we got that. How would they justify and argue against the story of Lut alayhi salam? Because at the end of the day, remember also, you do have some Muslims out there. He wants to be a practicing Muslim. He believes in Allah. He believes in Allah. And he says that I have these inclinations. Why did Allah, if this was haram, why did you give this to me? Why did you make me feel like this? Why did you give me this inclination? If you gave me this inclination and you gave me this desire, and then you say that it's impermissible, this is unfair against me. This is not right. How do I express myself? How do I live my life if I can't express myself with another guy? Are you with me? So he's in this conflict. He's in a continuous conflict if he believes in Allah and the final day, and he believes in the Noble Quran. So then some would work around the verses of Lut alayhi salam. What would they say with regards to the story of Lut alayhi salam? So they say that the people of Lut alayhi salam, they were reprimanded and punished not because of the act, but rather it was because there was no consent in the matter. Because it was man with man, but there was no consent. That was the issue, Jayid. But if there was consent, then there was no issue, right? It was rape. It was male rape. That's why they were reprimanded. That's the crux of the matter from those people who want to argue for its permissibility. As for the one who doesn't care, the Quran is outdated, I'm doing as I want, that's a separate discussion, right? But the one who wants to argue its permissibility and he wants you to accommodate him within Islam, do what you want. Don't call it Islam. No, you must adjust yourself. You must adjust Islam to accommodate us. That's mushkila, Jayid. So obviously this is where the conflict rests, Jayid. They have won the acceptance battle. The acceptance battle that they must be accepted, they have won that battle. Around the globe, they have won that battle. Maybe a few places they haven't. But most places they have won the acceptance battle. But now they are moving to the next level, which is that it needs to be the mainstream. This must be the mainstream, not just acceptance, it must be the mainstream. And everyone must align to it, align to this position and align to this agenda, that they now set the rules. And if you're not aligned to that, then you have a problem. So today we can't necessarily, maybe in Pakistan is a different story, but we can't necessarily in South Africa, wherever say, you know what, we want laws against this. No, that's not happening, Jayid. They are like almost the mainstream now. In reality, all we're asking is, don't discriminate against us. Don't remove my choice and my option that my kid, I don't want my kid to be exposed to this matter when he's 7 years old at school. Don't change, don't create these books here, my chacha is gay. Don't create this. I mean, now these dolls, Jade, you know, family dolls, etc. in supermarkets. So you got a guy and a kid. Jade, on WhatsApp, you go into your emojis, etc. You've got the whole list of different families there on your WhatsApp. It's got a guy, it's got a girl, and it's got 2 kids. It's got a girl and 2 kids. It's got a guy and 2 kids. All those options are there. Right? So, acceptance, we've lost that battle. But now to push it down our throats, and when we talk about gender identity, inshallah, that a kid who's 7, 8, 9, 10 years old in school, that they have the right to change their gender, and you parent don't have any right to stop them. This, how absurd. This is their human right. This is their basic right. That if he feels that he is a girl, then khalas, that's his right. He can start hormone therapy. He can't go and buy cigarettes in the supermarket. That kid can't buy cigarettes in the supermarket. I mean, the world today, in the States and Canada and other places, he can't buy cigarettes. He can't get a driver's license. But he can at school opt for hormone therapy, and he can have his sexual organs removed or changed because he feels so. Ajib, Jahid. Who would think that we're living in a world like this? Allahumma musta'an.